Chapter 11. Hit by the Train. She went inside to see all of their stuff moved around and her mother's phone lying on the floor. She picked it up while muttering to herself, "They never pick up anything," thinking that her dad picked them up and took them to the dining car. She looked into the dining car and saw her parents walking out of a door that was on the other side of the room. She turned towards the back of the car, which had a strange humming noise. She looked around the corner, and the door that was taped up was gone. Pepper immediately thought that her sisters had thought that was the door to the restroom, because that was what her parents had said on the ride over. She immediately stopped and thought that it was ridiculous because they would have seen the tape. But she couldn't think of any other option. She looked around in the other rooms. As she was exiting one of the rooms, she was startled by her parents and immediately said, "I can't find Chloe and Zoe." Fearful thoughts ran through her mind as to what had happened. Eleanor calmed Pepper down, and Chang asked, "Are you sure they're not in the restroom?" "Yes, I was just in there," Pepper said, while Chang looked at the general area of the broken door and realized the door was gone. He then turned around and told Eleanor that he was going to the conductor to tell him to stop the train. She quickly nodded her head and then went inside the room, grabbed her phone, and turned it on. The first thing she saw was a text from Chang saying he was at the door. She quickly realized it was the text from hours ago and started looking around the room. Pepper was sitting and gazing at the open door that led outside. Eleanor then walked out of their room and said, "Get away from that door," and pulled her back. They felt the train stop, which had been slowing over a few minutes. Then Eleanor opened the door to the back of the train to see if anybody saw something, and only found a lady sleeping on a bench. Hours later, they had all gotten off the train. Then officers showed up on the train. The officers said that 3 people were missing from a nearby prison who were known for abducting kids around the same age as Chloe and Zoe. Then the police recognized the lady in the caboose car as one of them. Her name is Samantha Thompson. They put her into their police car. They began to search the area for Chloe and Zoe. They searched for hours and hours. The entire town, out of town, who specialized in finding people and the transport children, as this is their hometown. They searched high and low in the forest everywhere. 2 days later, the police said that they had this under control. So Eleanor and Chang and Pepper went to the adoption agency. After learning what happened to Chloe and Zoe, they suspended the adoption for now. The family of 3 went home and waited for calls from the police, the adoption agency, the transport children, and the Gateway Kingdomers. The Gateway Kingdomers were the specialized children finders, I think. But they only got a call from the transport children, who offered to move their house closer, but they declined. Later on, they received a phone call saying that they had caught the 2 guys, but couldn't find Chloe and Zoe. But they told them that it looked like they escaped with the help of somebody, probably the person who called the police about the 2 guys, who were tied up at an old destroyed building. They then, of course, found them there and took them in. The police told Eleanor and Chang to look out for Chloe and Zoe. People brought them food for a couple of weeks, and a general acquaintance said it might be a good idea to have a funeral at some level. Hearing this, Eleanor got angry at her and said they were not dead. Tearing up, this was the first time Pepper ever heard her mom yell. Eleanor and Chang prayed by their bedsides that the girls were somewhere safe and that whoever had them was taking care of them. A week from when they went missing, Pepper was doing the only thing she could do to make herself fall asleep, watching videos on her laptop. She came across this beautiful girl who was teaching a lesson on makeup. Pepper decided to follow the tutorial. Somewhere along the line, she said to herself out loud, "After I'm done, I should show this to Chloe and Zoe." Then a sense of coldness came over her. Even though it had been a week, she hadn't processed the reality of what had happened. and this was the first time she had the time to think about it. Then she remembered that they were gone. The shock caused her to mess up her eyeliner and have a streak of black going down her cheek. She got stressed out about messing up her eyeliner. She then sat back in her office chair as she reached to grab one of her makeup wipes. She knocked her blush off of her desk, and it shattered. She got up out of her chair to clean up the mess. At the same time, the person in the video was talking about how simple, easy, and fun it was. Hearing the joy emanating from the person's voice just seemed to make the room look darker and sadder. This made Pepper have a wave of panic and then anger. She said to herself, "I'm supposed to be happy, but I'm not. I'm supposed to have sisters, but I don't." She went back in panic. Pepper got back to her chair, looked at the video on the screen, went to the comment section, and started to let out her feelings. She rumbled on about how unfair her life was, and that the girl Lisa, her life was so perfect, and she didn't deserve it. She deleted that comment and began to write again, saying, "Your makeup tutorials are the worst. I can't even get it right, and I'm a lot better than you are." She then posted it. Then she sat in her office chair with her arms crossed angrily, and she couldn't sleep that night. She just walked around her room all night and stirred with anger. This went on for a couple of weeks, her staying up all night and leaving hate comments on people's videos. She had become an internet troll and was exhausted, so her comments became even more unfiltered. Chapter 12. The Train of the Past. One night, about 3 o'clock, she was listening to some music. She had a very draining day at school, so much so that it wasn't very hard for her to go to sleep. She repeated in her head the things that people said to her throughout the day at school, as they were getting ready for prom. She was one of the strongest in her school. There were only 3 other people stronger than her at school, so she was left to do most of the heavy lifting, thinking about all the things she had to do. Lifting things, pulling things, grabbing things. Lift this, pull this, grab this. That doesn't go there. Can you turn this? That doesn't go there. That doesn't go there. That doesn't go there. Oh, Pepper, you dropped this. Oh, that's mine. I just thought since it was lost that it was yours because you're good at losing things, like your sisters. One of the girls who was looking forward to being prom queen was very mean. She thought that Pepper was going to take it because the people felt bad for her losing her sisters. She repeated those words and spoke to her while shaking her fist back and forth. She was very stressed out because truly she was a very people-pleasing person who did things for people no matter how she felt. The only time she was rude to people was online through her trolling, and everywhere else besides her room she acted like a happy, joyful person, even though inside she was practically dead. She started listening to a song. She fell asleep halfway through the song. While she was still sleeping, she woke up, still listening to music. She pulled her headphones off and sat them on her nightstand next to her bed. But when she looked back towards her door, which she could see from her bed, it was wide open, but she had closed it before she fell asleep. She thought to herself as she was about to get up to close the door. She heard a high-pitched, drowned-out scream. As she was hearing this sound, she saw very large black flat hands that were coming down the hallway. 2 on the opposite side of the hallway walls, and 1 on the ceiling and 1 on the floor. She quickly turned around in her bed. Facing the wall her window was on, the window quickly lit up with a shadowy figure in the foreground. The figure quickly opened the window. She got out of bed, quickly pulling her covers off. But instead of being able to escape, a lady figure was right in front of her. "Do you want to know?" in a very disturbing tone. The lady had white dots all over her, and as Pepper looked down, she noticed she was floating with little black specks coming off of her. The lady quickly flew closer to Pepper and said, "Remember me? I'm your best friend. Don't you remember? Maybe you'll remember her." The figure then pointed to the mirror of her vanity. The mirror began to fog. Then the picture became clear. That she trolled every day showed up. It was the same beauty guru. though she looked younger. It was a flashback to Lisa sitting on the bottom of the stairs with her parents, who had just driven off. Bobby got to the bottom of the stairs. The figure said,
"Look there. You have even more to come. She lost her parents. She had to take care of her brother all by herself. She used her videos to pay for things. And she's only 1 year older."
Her laptop on her desk began to open. The figure then spoke again and said,
"Go ahead, make her day."
Pepper was drawn to the laptop for a moment, but then shut the laptop and ran out the door. She went down the hallway and saw her sister's light on and somebody walking near the door. She thought her parents were in there, so she immediately burst the door open. When she opened it, she was surprised to see herself, but younger. She also saw her sisters sitting on the floor. She went around herself, but her younger self did not react. She was then distracted by the fact that Chloe was crying. The younger Pepper said to Chloe, "What's wrong?" Zoe answered by saying that someone on the playground said that Chloe couldn't get on the slide because she would break it. "Did you tell them that she was a master builder?" Pointing at the model trains that were around the room. "They said that she was too big." Pepper then realized that this was a memory from the past. The younger Pepper got down and, "Okay, they were mean to you, but thinking about other people's comments doesn't help you grow as a person. Try thinking about how you feel about yourself. And if there's something that you need to change, then change it. But if there's something that you want to change, just because somebody else said it, that doesn't mean you should." The younger Pepper then turned around and looked directly at Pepper. Her skin began to turn pitch black. She had turned into the figure and turned around and started repeating the same thing that Pepper said online and said to Chloe and Zoe. Pepper is watching with horror. Chloe and Zoe began to cry, then reached to grab the figure. Pepper teared the figure's hands. The figure spoke in a deep voice.
"What are you doing? This is what you wanted. In a world filled with people who feel bad about things they do, it doesn't matter who they are."
Pepper then woke up and began to try to shake off the disturbing dream. But she felt kind of hungry and decided to go get a snack. Even the mere mention of the word snack still made her grunt in anger. She then walked out of her room, down the stairs and into the kitchen, where she got something to eat. She pulled out a jar of random snacks, the candy bars she asked for on the train that day when Chloe and Zoe were abducted. She then remembered the dream she had and realized that if Chloe and Zoe were still around, how disappointed they would be, and said very loudly, "Chloe and Zoe are never going to get their snacks." That helped her understand her feelings. She couldn't hold her tears back and began to cry very loudly. Chang and Eleanor walked into the kitchen to find Pepper sitting on the floor. They then turned the kitchen light on, sat on the floor near her, and moved closer. Then they sat beside her. They talked. She told them about her trolling and that she hadn't slept more than 2 hours a day. They hugged her and told her that they were sorry that she was dealing with this on her own. They had her delete her comments and say that she was sorry and that she had lost her sisters, and that was the reason she was being mean, and that's because she knew she was wrong. But the makeup girl had a lot of mean comments, so her parents had her go apologize in person. Instantly, Pepper looked her up and knew a lot about her, so she sat up a basket filled with her favorite things. It took them a while. 4 days after Pepper's birthday, they found the address. She walked up to the stairs, knocked on the door, and said sorry to Lisa. Lisa forgave her and suggested going to a museum that specializes in therapy for teenagers and young adults. She took Pepper and her parents there, gave them a tour, and introduced them to the other people who are a part of the center. Pepper's parents were a part of the 25 and older program. Pepper was a part of the 24 and younger. They got to work at the museum and got paid while learning things, and sometimes went through sit-down one-on-one therapy. Pepper was in one of Lisa's videos where they surprised her parents by cutting her hair, which was down to her elbows. Back to present day, Eleanor put all the papers into the cardboard box, and she and Chang grabbed 2 of the boxes off the counter, leaving 2 big pots and some wrapped cookies on a plate, and another 2 boxes still on the counter that they got later at a bus stop near the museum. Lisa got off the bus first, and then 2 guys were in front of Pepper. They walked up to the back of the door of the museum. Lisa opened the door first, and then the 2 guys held the door open as Lisa walked in, and then Pepper. Hey, subscribe, comment below, put a thumbs up for this video, and bye.